Hey guys, Spets here again, and I'm going to be doing a patch rundown for patch 5.7. I took some feedback from last time, and I noticed that my last patch rundown was quite long, so I'm going to try to shorten it, be more concise with my thoughts this time around. So first champion is Bard. First change is just base stats. Base attack damage increased by 6, and base armor increased by 4. Just slight buffs to help his laning phase and trading potential with autos. Not too big of a deal. I don't think that gets to the heart of his problems. Other changes to his passive, Traveler's Call. You can read this right here. It just decreases the spawn timers at first chime, so it helps him gather more chimes more quickly. It also gives him more mana overall when he collects chimes, so the lower his mana, the better this is. It's okay, but honestly, that isn't one of his big problems. I'll go over it when I talk about Cosmic Binding, and why I believe this change to Cosmic Binding is not really going to help him. Cosmic Binding, the problem with it isn't the damage. You don't use it, again, like you don't use it for damage, you use it more for the utility it gives you. And right now, I think the main problem with Cosmic Binding is the travel speed and probably the range of it. Like, it's quite hard to hit unless they're either running towards you, so it's a good peeling ability, but like engaging, it's actually a little bit tougher, especially the speed of it. It's quite slow in terms of projectile speed, so that's the main problem. I think Bard, the trouble with him is that he doesn't provide as much once the team fight actually starts. So in that kind of scenario, he's tough to play. He's good like for chasing and for like catching people out of position. I think his ultimate, people haven't caught on to it and understood why it's so good. I think things like just theory crafting right here. Let's say you ult like 3 or 4 people from their team. You can set up maybe an Orion ultimate on top of that immediately when they come out. That's just one thing. That's just one of the many things you can do with his ultimate. Another thing is maybe a team fight erupts. You try to ult the back line and allow your front line to burn down their tanks while their back line is doing absolutely nothing. So just things to look at. I don't think people are used to him yet. That's really the problem. And I don't think these are necessary changes. We'll see as time goes on. Again, I don't know why you increase the ability power ratio. Are you trying to make him carry? I mean, there's a reason supports have low ratios. So I don't know. It's just weird changes. These are fine in my opinion. This one not necessarily needed. It's in the wrong direction overall. Blitzcrank, I actually I wasn't too happy with these changes because I was trying them out on PBE and they felt really bad. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Blitzcrank go for that more risk-reward kind of playstyle. He already is risk-reward. If you miss your pull, you're kind of useless as a Blitzcrank. I mean, you can run up to them and eat them, but really good Blitzcranks land their pulls, and when you don't, you're useless in most cases. Compared to like a Thresh, what do you offer? So this gives him a larger movement speed burst, but it actually decays quite quickly. It says over 5 seconds, but when I was playing it, it took maybe 3 seconds, and I was maybe a few points above my regular movement speed. And after that, it was a huge movement speed debuff. It might not seem like much, but 30% self movement speed decrease is quite big. He hasn't even really played in competitive. I know sometimes Mad Life, I remember he pulled him out actually quite recently and did well, but I don't think these changes were needed. He had a very specific play style and very specific things that he was good at, but this just hurts him in a way that I don't think was necessary. So we'll see though. So Darius got a little bit of a buff. He got some changes to his ultimate. I don't think these kind of changes, so it just basically gives him more mana each time he ults because his mana cost, I don't know what the mana cost on his ultimate is. Let me check real quick. Darius Lawwiki. How high is it? So the mana cost is 100. So just put that in perspective. 100 at all ranks. Gives him 100 mana back at level 3. So this level 3 ultimate is actually quite good. The problem with like snowballing in a fight with Darius is that you run out of mana. Like, you won't actually be able to get like 5 kills with your ultimate. So This allows him to basically get a free ultimate. If he gets a kill, that is. But a lot of the problems with Darius is that he just gets kited a lot. A lot of the melee champions, if they don't have a gap closer, they're not viable. Just period. End of story. Even Udyr, who has a movement speed buff on his E, isn't good just because like you need to have like an instant gap closer to be useful. Udyr has been played recently just because of his for his peeling abilities, but he's just overall not great. Like anyone without a gap closer and who's melee, he's just really not that useful overall. But we'll see. This will help him in solo queue, so nothing against that. But his competitive viability won't change. Evelynn increased to damage on all ranks of Q. It's okay. It's a nice damage buff, but it's still not anywhere near. I think 140 was the old value at level 5. So she's still quite weak. Not a great jungler overall. We'll see though, but she still needs a little love in my opinion to get anywhere. Let's see. So the Fizz changes. This is something that I was actually kind of surprised when they changed Fizz originally and nerfed his AP abilities. Like they nerfed the AP ratio on his Q, I think it was, and they nerfed this in terms of AP. They made like so this is how I'm gonna explain it. If you guys have played Fizz, you might already understand it, but his active was an on hit, just percentage damage kind of auto attack ability. I don't know how to on hit effect. There we go. And it just automatically did that damage. But what it used to be was more like this. It used to do the percent health damage or missing health damage over a certain time. So attack speed wasn't that great because it would just refresh the passive portion of it. So it would be good for kind of slowly burning down health, similar to how Liandry's is, but it isn't like a blade kind of ability or a blade kind of item. Or yeah, ability is because blade is the item, but it isn't like that where each hit does that certain amount of damage. So it's more in line to what he used to be, and it also adds an AP ratio that wasn't there before. So this buffs his AP builds, which honestly I think is what it should be. His that new build that was coming out, it was cool. I like the Triforce blade builds, but they kind of just nerfed AP Fizz when he wasn't that strong overall. Just for the sake of changing him, it seemed like. He wasn't that strong as an assassin. He just couldn't get... Like, his ultimate was hard to land on a certain target in a team fight unless you flanked or something along those lines. Whereas Zed can just point and click. So, things like that. Garen. So, similar to... I don't know if they did this at the same time on purpose, but they did a buff to Garen and Darius at the same time. This is different though. It allows him to have a stronger early game. So this is 40 seconds on level 1 and then 20 seconds level 2 or rank 2 of his ultimate. Allows him to just fight more often. His ultimate is quite strong if you really think about it. He plays a lot like an assassin, Garen, in the early game and as the game goes on. He's still not going to be competitive viable. Again, any champion who doesn't have like a real gap closer isn't that great. I think Garen is more of like a frontline damage soak, but he doesn't have any real CC. He has soft CC. I see him more as a like anti-caster champion where, because his silence is, I think it's like 2.5 second. Let's look real quick. I always like to check this. So whenever you guys want to check ability details, go to the LoL wiki. So his Q silence. So it goes 1.5 to 2.5 seconds. So that's what I see Garen as. He's like an anti-mage kind of champion. I mean, he's good against anyone because the silence is useful. I mean, you want to prevent someone from using abilities, escape abilities, good. But he just acts like a burst champion in a lot of ways. He's still really good as a frontline tank just because of like his natural tankiness with courage, and his new passive is good for like going into a fight and then trying to run away and slowly healing yourself up. and then coming back into a fight, especially his level 16 passive. So we'll see. Gonna be more viable in solo queue, not in competitive. I don't see Garen ever entering competitive. Unless there's some rare cases where you already have a lot of CC on your like jungler or other champions, Garen isn't a great pick. He's more of a frontline, just for the sake of a frontline. It's just the damage soak, but we'll see. Hecarim. So this is a nerf to his laning phase. So base health regen and base mana regen nerfed. These are quite high values, to be honest. He is a melee champion, but he already has his W for kind of regenning health, and you often start Flask or Dorn's Blade and then just do a camp, and that allows you to get a lot of pots. So he doesn't really need this, especially with the things people are doing with first camps for level 2, and so this won't hurt him as much as it might look like. It's just a little weaken. It weakens his laning phase slightly. He's still going to be really strong in the mid and late game, so it's not a problem. Kassadin. So this is a change that I remember. This is around the time when Kassadin was slowly getting nerfed over time. He was at a point where he was absolutely absurd after the rework, and rightfully he was nerfed. He was just ridiculous. But I feel like some of the changes they did were not the right changes. So this used to be 12 seconds in between empowered stacks, and the reasoning they gave, I'm pretty sure, was because it's like by doing this, it would stop his ability to go off in team fights, but you don't wait 12 seconds during a team fight. It used to be 12 seconds in between empowered stacks. You don't wait 12 seconds to dash during a team fight. It did not affect that. It affected his roaming, which is what they are changing now. So let's say you use your ultimate to get across the map. You have to wait 20 seconds before you get the reduced mana cost again. It's kind of a long time. It used to be 12 seconds, still a really long time in terms of just like cooldowns. So it wasn't really necessary. This was just like a weird change, just like, oh, we just want to nerf you. It's not like a really good directed or guided change. So I'm glad they're reverting this. I doubt Kassadin will be played. Maybe. It just depends, because with a lot of the team comps that are going on now in competitive, it's like late game focused, and Kassadin is late game focused, but he's just overall too weak in the early and mid game. He takes too long to ramp up, and even in the very, very late game, there are champions that are stronger that are coming into the game, like Anivia and Vladimir, or other champions. I'm trying to think. Ryze is no longer a late game champion, simply because a lot of his damage was nerfed in this queue. I'm trying to think. But like Ryze, old Ryze would have been like another example, but yeah. Maokai changes. So just this is a nerf to Maokai's passive, which is the healing on auto attack. So it's only a 2% nerf on level 1 through 6, so it isn't huge, but it will hurt him slightly, because you would get this off quite a lot in the laning phase, depending on who you're facing. Like if you're facing a Hecarim, you get it off quite a lot because he's using Q to farm and harass. It just depends on who you're facing, but it is a I guess a nerf to his laning phase. That's the best way to put it. But he's still going to be strong. He still brings that instant crowd control from his W, the Q knockback, his ultimate AoE damage reduction. Just overall great champion. There's no way around it. And this won't hurt him as much because of how, like Hecarim, he's actually quite good at doing a level 1 camp, especially with saplings. So this won't hurt him as much as you might think. Okay, Morgana. Morgana's auto attack and abilities, sound effects, and visual effects have been updated for her base and all skins. Click here for full details. Morgana has also received new ability icons. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's just like what they did to Kassadin. You know how they changed the look of his abilities and the icons? Same thing. Nothing has changed with the actual champion, just the look and feel of the champion, that's all. Okay, Nidalee. This is actually one that I was interested in just because of how, I don't know if I would say drastic of a change it is, but it's quite a big nerf. So base health is reduced by 30 HP, which isn't huge, but in the early game, that little bit amount of HP, that's like a little more than a health quint. So just think about it in that kind of sense. The health per level, I think this is so that's like 170 health lower than it was before, because it goes you add this 17 times to your level 1 base health, and then your level 18, so you would have however much it is added up. But now it's reduced by 10 at each level, so 170 reduced plus the 30 here. So overall 200 health lower than you did have at level 18. So this makes her skirmishing, like melee potential, weaker as the game goes on. But overall, her other abilities, like her jungle clear is really good. Her poke damage is already really good. But I don't think this change was needed. The reason I say this is because the meta is sort of shifting away from her. Like, they even talk about it here. Though it's tough to say Nidalee's gone untouched with the rise of the incredible Cinderhulks, she's still at the forefront of any conversation concerning jungle dominance. She's good at, like, clearing the jungle and some damage if she, like, lands her spear. Like, but just in general, she's not going to be that useful, like, as the game goes on. As a jungler, you don't have as much farm as a solo laner, so you can't get those really heavy AP items as a jungler. You just can't. So this hurts her in that sense. I don't think this was needed. This is meant to be a nerf to her jungle, because that's where she's most played. Maybe as a solo laner, she'd still be fine. I mean, her spears still do quite a lot of damage, but as a jungler, you get too little farm, so you can't focus specifically on, like, an AP like Nidalee with, like, a lot of AP like death cap and stuff like that. You might still be able to get in, like, solo queue, but in a competitive setting, junglers just get way too little farm compared to solo laners. Quinn. Okay, so this is just a change to how blind works. So instead of checking if you are blind when you start sending out the auto attack, it's when the auto attack starts moving away from you. So it's hard to explain, but it just makes it so it's more in line with what the visuals are. So it's a buff to blind, basically. So if they send out their auto attack, that's when I don't know how to explain it, but just know that it's a buff to blind in the sense that it's more visually, like, clear. It's more visually clear. There we go. That's the best way to put it. But yeah, this is a buff to Quinn as well as Teemo. I don't know if there's any other blinds in the game. Pretty sure there aren't. Rek'Sai. So a nerf to Rek'Sai's Q damage, mainly the bonus attack damage. So there's still a base damage to it that it increases on each auto attack, but this reduces the bonus attack damage as well. Do I think it's needed? Not necessarily, but regardless of this change, Rek'Sai is still going to be fairly strong. Offers great mobility, great scouting ability. What else? Damage is great. The knockup is useful. Split push is good. Just overall, really good champion. There's no way around that. Even despite the Cinderhulk changes, still really good in the early game. Just like old Lee Sin was. Lee Sin is still good, but very situational. Rek'Sai is more useful throughout the game. So not going to be too big of a difference. This is a buff also to late game usability of tunnels, I guess. Because I'm pretty sure you level this second. Okay, so you level this second, so it's actually pretty good in, like, the mid game as well. Okay, Shen. It's also happening. I don't know what that means. Okay. Just a reduction in cooldown of all ranks of Shen's ultimate. Level 20 at rank 1. So this is actually interesting, because most of the time the ability isn't changed at, like, rank 3, but is more buffed in, like, the early ranks. This is the other way around. It's 20 at rank 1 and 40 at rank 3, and then 30. Or wait, 20 here too. That's weird. That's a weird scaling. Because it goes down 20 and then 40. Okay, that's really weird. But it's supposed to be a buff to just Shen in general. Since TP has become so much more popular, the ability to teleport that Shen has, it's not as useful. But to be honest, the main problem with Shen now is that he doesn't really have an AoE kind of ability to clear waves and farm. So like his split pushing is okay, but it's kind of slow until you get a Sunfire. This might bring him back, but I don't know. Maybe he's viable in the sense that you do not absolutely need teleport. Especially since Stand United is a lower cooldown than teleport in all cases. It doesn't matter if you teleport or cancel or not. Just overall, this is better. So I might see some like certain things. I've been thinking about, like, I know Shyvana has been played in the LPL with Smite. This is just something that I'm theory crafting, and I still haven't tried it out. Maybe Shen with Smite would be a viable option with like the AoE clear one for split pushing, but this is just things I'm thinking about, things that probably won't work, but I don't know, just some things that Shen can do that other champions can, because he doesn't absolutely need teleport. It is nice, but you just lose a lot of pressure that you could have like with another ability. So as certain champions like Hecarim and Shyvana remove their their mobility summoners like Flash for other more aggressive ones, so like Ignite and TP for Hecarim, and Smite and TP on Shyvana, which is kind of, it isn't really popular yet, but it's just something that I've seen be done. I don't know how good it is in the long run. But it might be useful on Shen, but in the sense that you might want to keep Flash. I mean, it's your choice, but there are different options for Shen, just because he does have that ability to teleport, and I think people haven't taken full advantage of it. So like maybe Flash Ignite, some other like summoners would be really useful on Shen. And you, like most champions, they don't teleport until 6 anyway. So like, I mean, if someone teleports as 5, it's very rarely gonna net a kill or an assist. So yeah. Singed Ease monster cap was factoring in Ease base damage. Okay, fixed a bug where the 300 damage cap to monsters was being applied improperly. So just a bug fix. Okay, so it's just I guess a buff to jungle Singed. I don't know who does that anymore. I know people used to, but just a bug fix, so that's nice. Teemo Blinding Dart. So same thing as Quinn. It just checks if the person is blinded at a later time. So it's better for Teemo basically. It's just, this makes blind more useful and more it increases clarity. Okay, Tristana E cooldown slightly increased, Q reduced E's cooldown. Okay, so the kind of the thing with Tristana now is that if you auto someone, so the change I think last patch was that if you auto someone that has explosive shot on them, it reduces the cooldown of rapid fire. Now inversely, if you, let me see, basic attacks while rapid fire is active, it reduces. Okay, so the other way around also works. So if you auto attack something while rapid fire is active, it reduces the cooldown explosive charge. So they inversely work together, and in a way it helps them both lower the cooldown of each other. It's kind of weird. It's a weird interaction, but they're trying to like push. I don't know why they're doing this, because Tristana I still feel is like, she's not as strong as of a hyper carry as she used to be, partly because of her range, but also because of the reduction in attack speed. The duration of the attack speed, rapid fire. It used to be 7 seconds, now it's 5. It's not a huge difference, but it does hurt her. But her overall attack speed when a Q is active is still very high. Her base attack speed got lowered, but her regular attack speed, her attack speed with rapid fire is still very high, because they buffed rapid fire's attack speed to compensate, sort of like that. So she's really strong when it's on, not as strong when it's off. that being said, she's still quite powerful. This might allow her to get maybe 2 rapid fires in a longer engagement. So it would increase her DPS there. But this Ghost Blade thing they're doing, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know. Especially with the buffs to Phantom Dancer, I don't think it's necessary to do things like this. Ghostblade is kind of like a bursty build, which I guess I understand with Tristana's new E, but her ult, that's the only thing about her that's really good in terms of like that's her only physical damage ability. Her ult is still magic damage, I'm pretty sure, right? Let's check just to be sure, but Tristana wiki. Let's see. I don't know why I'm checking this. I'm 100% sure. Yeah, magic damage. So Ghostblade isn't as good on her as it is like on Graves or Lucian or as Twitch, the main blade carriers that I know of. Maybe Silver sometimes, but I don't think people use Blade too often. I mean, I understand the burst of attack speed, and I guess I understand it kind of helps with rapid fire, so you get that really fast burst of attack speed. But PD is so much better now that IE was nerfed. So IE PD is just like the way to go if you want to do maximum damage overall. I mean, you get that slight extra burst with Ghostblade, but you don't get the extra crit. The crit on PD is huge now. So I think that's the way to go. I don't like this Ghostblade thing they're hinting at. Like, I don't like the way Riot sometimes balances where they push towards a certain build path with their changes. Like, allow people to make decisions on their own. Don't push towards making a certain build the build for a champion. Allow them to be creative. That's what I feel like, but whatever. That's just me. I'm ranting though. I should make this a little shorter. Explosive charge. So just to make this more even, since each auto attack when rapid fire is active does reduce the cooldown of this, they're kind of compensating and increasing the cooldown here. It's still going to be, you're going to need 4 auto attacks to make it the same. So 4 auto attacks in rapid fire to make it the same as it used to be. So late game you'll have like maybe, it depends on what items you get, but you can get 2.0 plus attack speed. So this will be a decent amount lower, maybe like 10 seconds. I didn't do the math. I just kind of guessed right there. But at least like 10 seconds cooldown in the late game, which is decent. I don't know. I wonder if that works on towers too. If it's on towers as well, you can burn down towers quite quickly with this change. So we'll see. Okay, Cinderhulk. So this is a nerf to Cinderhulk, reduction in 50 HP, which is not that big of a deal. But if you look at it, the context of the item itself, this also increases. 350 increases by 25%, and now it's a 25% of 300 as opposed to 350, so it's even lower than you actually think. It's actually more than a 50 HP nerf, so keep that in mind. And it's a increase by 50 gold, so not huge, but it's a slight nerf, which Cinderhulk it needed. It was a little too powerful, and still is really powerful in my opinion. The 25% increase in health is quite powerful on certain champions that really like benefit from it. Like maybe Scion, Sejuani helps too because of the AoE damage, but the health is what I'm more looking at. So not that big of a nerf. Still gonna be a really good item. Still gonna be bought, but it's needed. Okay, Tiamat. So this is just a change that I think is nice. It's not a big deal. It just changes the way the AoE works on Tiamat and Ravenous Hydra. So instead of stages of like damage and like one, I don't know how to describe it, but each stage has a different damage. So like if you're like 10 units away from the champion, it does this much damage. 30 units, this much damage. So something like that. Instead of that, it just linearly decreases, which makes more sense. I thought that's what it was always like, but I guess it wasn't. So yeah. So this is again another nerf to tank junglers. So there's a base damage to, I'm pretty sure, of Gift of the Toadstool, which is the damage buff that junglers get when they smite Gromp. So there's a base damage and then there's a bonus health damage portion. This is quite a big nerf. So usually tanks get like in a really late game like 4,000 health. So that's like roughly, let's say 2,000 health bonus, 2,000 bonus health. So before it used to be 200 extra damage from the health. Now it's only 100. It's quite a big nerf. I don't think it was necessary. This big of a nerf was necessary, but like this along with the Cinderhulk makes tank junglers quite a lot weaker. I still think skirmishing junglers like Rek'Sai and Nidalee in certain cases were still useful. They had their uses. It's just certain champions like Sejuani are really good, just period, regardless of an item. What other junglers are very common nowadays that are tank junglers? So that's the main one, Sejuani, because that's what most people play, and it's not simply just because of Cinderhulk. It's just the champion is good, period. Cinderhulk doesn't really change that, so I don't think this was necessary. I think just Sejuani needs a little bit of a change. We'll see though. She did have a nerf in the last patch, so it's a little too early to tell. So minion spawn animations. I'm not gonna go over this. This is just like some added like visual stuff. Loading screen. So the loading screen that I was talking about last video. I think they fixed it now. Oh wait, no. Oh no, this is the loading screen art. So if you guys saw that on Surrender at 20 or any other place on the League of Legends website, it's a nice addition. You'll see it. And then the animated victory defeat banner. So this is just like a more flashy victory defeat banners. You'll see. I saw it on PBE and it was quite nice. Luden's echo was changed on Twisted Treeline. This is just because of the needlessly large rod. Wasn't in Twisted Treeline. Not things I'm going to go over, but that's about it, guys. Thanks again for watching this. Hopefully you like this. I tried to make it a little shorter. It is shorter, but I'll try to make these more and more concise. But I like to go into detail about theory crafting and like the potential changes to competitive and solo queue that all these patch notes have. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you liked it, and I'll see you guys next time.